Здравствуйте and welcome back to Creative Slav. Today I am so pleased to bring you one of my dear little Kolya's favorite, my dear child. We are going to make Pelmeni. Yes, that wonderful delight that people young and old love. This is a little dish, originally I think from Siberia, but it warms the hearts of everyone. Now, many cultures have a similar dish. It's very similar to ravioli or in China, wontons, but the Russians call this their own. Now, I went ahead and prepared a lot of the ingredients ahead of time. I have in here a whole bucket full of meat. I put in ground beef and ground pork, and ground veal, about a pound of each. I was unable to obtain the ground pork in the store, so one alternative would be to get just some pork and grind it yourself, as many Slavic women do. All work is lots of fun. I also put in some onions and, of course, dill and lots of salt and pepper, a little bit of garlic. Now, I normally like to have the onions finely chopped, but unfortunately, the help that I had today was not really up to par. They were a little bit busy last night, as some Slavic people are with what they do in the evenings. We will not talk about that right now. We'll get to that another time. That's another topic. Right now, I will talk about the flour. So when we make the dough for the pelmeni, it should feel like a baby's bottom. Yes. My mother never made this. I learned this from some people in the old country when I visited several years ago. We are going to make this is one place where I am going to be measuring with a measuring cup. Normally I don't. You're going to take 7 cups of flour. They don't have to be sifted. I have to count. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Kolya's at 7. I was losing track there. Yes, so that's okay. So we have in here 7 cups of the unbleached flour that I obtained from the grocery store. Normally, of course, I would be grinding my own flour, but I just had no time today. You get about 2 tablespoons of sour cream. What could be more Slavic than sour cream? Again, it's much better if you make it your own, but today I'm using the store-bought. Of course, fresh sour cream made by your own hand is always much better, and however, we are not going to deal with that today. Some salt, of course, a pinch of salt, and we are having about 2 eggs, and you want to pour it. Some people like to make a well, but it's all going to get mixed up anyway. I'll make a well for those people who would like that. And buttermilk. Yes, buttermilk, another favorite of the Slavic people. Despite what you may think, it is not as much fat as other milk. It is very nutritious, a bit on the sour side, but it gives the flavor that you need for the pelmeni dough. Now, of course, normally what I would really like to do is have one of those wonderful, fancy dough mixtures. Now, this is a story. My dear husband, God rest his soul, Ivan. I was married to this man, a fine man, for at least 25 years, and he was visiting. We were visiting the family back home, and he was with his brothers Ivan and Boris, and they were out in the fields. Now, my husband had promised, God rest his soul, to buy me one of those fancy dough mixing machines for our golden wedding anniversary. Alas, that was not to take place. That Kalyevshik, that poor man who got an unfortunate tractor accident last year, and he is no longer with us. But we are managing, because with the help and aid of his remaining brothers, Boris, who I married shortly thereafter, we have managed to get along just fine without him. And of course, my dear Boris, he will he promised also, like his dear brother, Ivan, no, sorry, I'm mixing all my husbands up. Ivan was going to get me that mixer, but of course he did not. Anyway, so you have to perhaps mix by hand, which of course takes quite a lot of work. But of course, being the Slavic girl, we are not afraid of a lot of work. Take it by your hand and you mix it, all this lovely dough. And again, the more you mix it, the softer it will get. You're going to get all those crumbs. And eventually I'm going to transfer it to my board. Of course, this is the key to making wonderful pelmeni, is to have the right consistency of the dough. I'm just going to move this now to my board. And perhaps we need to add just a touch of warm water, which I will get from my sink. So, yes, just to talk a little bit about my family. I don't want to reveal too much, of course, because this is not what we're here for. But yes, I had a grandmother, Larissa, and my mother was Tatiana, and we had a lovely time growing up. I remember as a child living in Russia, in fields, and we always used natural products in our cooking, and they were a great source of inspiration for me starting this little video series for cooking. So anyway, I told you about my dear husband, Ivan, in the tractor, and we had a son. He of course went into the army, and we haven't heard from him in several years. I'm sure he's okay. He occasionally sends us a postcard. Yes, so we